Meeting to order of the Villa Park Village Board. Today is April 27th at 7 p.m. Clerk Kornecki, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Trustee Salela?
Here.
Trustee Kazone?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Patrick?
Here.
Trustee Tucker?
Here.
Trustee Wagner?
Here.
President Bolfus.
Here. Let's all stand for the pledge and then remain standing for a short prayer. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Wagner has a short prayer for us.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that might affect the residents, staff, businesses, surrounding communities, and all those that enter the village of Villa Park. And continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. And once again, would like to offer a special intention for those who have succumbed to the virus, those who are struggling to regain their health, and those who have lost their jobs, and also for our businesses. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, the next order of business here is public comments on agenda items, and request that people send us in an email with any questions they have. So I'm just, Manager Keener, do we have anybody send in any questions?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. We have two questions this evening. Our first question is from Tracy Gabriel, which is a resident of Villa Park. Says, hello all, my concern around this adjustment, which is, we're talking about agenda item 8B. My concern around this adjustment is limiting the timeline for public comment and our voice. If not able to be present at time of discussion, then there is no opportunity for our voice to be heard after we hear the board's side. Changing this village code to allow changing of code ordinances with only one meeting seems unfair to residents. I would like to voice the concern that seems a bit unfair to residents and favors the petitioner without justification to the why this is presented and what degree of flexibility will be allowed. What is the definition of general housekeeping as referred to in the below? If this change is only for state code or federal code related items, I would be in favor. But for local code, county or village, I would not be in favor. And she goes on to put 8B. So 8B is village code currently dictates that any time a modification to code is recommended, such action must be taken in two separate readings by the village board during a public meeting. The proposed ordinance modification allows some flexibility in the passage of ordinances for codification, allowing the board to waive the requirement of a second reading if a majority votes in favor of such action. This may be helpful with general housekeeping items, for example, the occasion in which village code must be modified in accordance with state code. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Just a quick answer to that. An example of the housekeeping is our number 9, where we're just adopting a Federal Emergency Management Agency requirement for flooding. So, which is, it goes in our code, but it's something that's going to happen, and it's just has to happen. So that's an example of housekeeping things. So I think attorney would like to make a comment.
Well, first of all, we don't require second reading for those items that most of our citizens and our residents are interested in. Rezoning, special uses. There is absolutely no requirement for more than one reading. This is just where it's going to be put into a code, and the 2 readings, by the way, is something that is unique to Villa Park, and it's just for purposes of being sure that the verbiage is good, because it's going to be typed and put into our book forever. It is really not intended to prolong the discussion, because typically you ask for discussion on the first reading, and second reading, it's just a regular vote. The agenda comes out plenty of time ahead of time, usually giving citizens the right to speak, and this can be difficult, as you say, when we have to adopt for our codification rules and regulations that have been posed by us by various agencies and states, and we're mandated to implement it within a certain period of time. I don't think there are many instances of codification that we've actually utilized this provision.
The other one I wanted to point out too, the reason why that's on there is the item number 8A, which has to do with the currency exchange on North Avenue, which is a code change. The petitioner on that one, he's being forced out of his current location a little farther down North Avenue in Elmhurst, and he needs to sign a lease as soon as possible because they're going to knock down the building that he's at. So, and I'm going to ask you this later if it's okay for a consensus, if we can sort of give him an okay, even if this doesn't pass, so he can sign the lease and get the construction going, not have to wait a whole month before that. He's able to do that.
Mr. President, all of the zoning changes, this is a zoning text change, has already had a public hearing.
Yes.
Before the Plan Commission, Planning and Zoning, and it was, those public hearings had publication. So the application actually of this technical rule that you imposed several years ago is a very limited use and has not turned out to be very effective.
Yeah. And it's not something we would use indiscriminately, so just the information there. Yes, Trustee Wagner.
Just, it's my understanding that we wouldn't, that the board would have to say, we'd like to, a motion would be made to not to waive the second reading.
Yes.
I would just mention that the item, for example, I think it's item 9, I think that may fall under that class. This is the one with the bulletin 70.
Yes.
I didn't have a complete understanding of bulletin 70 until I kind of attended a Zoom meeting put on by Dupage Stormwater, and I got a fuller understanding of it after the fact. So I see the argument for avoiding the second reading, but of course the board would have to make a decision to do that. So
right.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Another comment in emails?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. One more. This one is from Steve De La Rosa, another Villa Park resident. It states, the end date for item 10B on the agenda dealing with the extension of emergency powers for the village has no firm end date. With the continuing changes with the status of the state of Illinois in regards to this crisis, I want to suggest that our village reviews the authority of this action on a monthly basis as opposed to an open-ended timeline. It will allow the village to be more nimble in its response to changing circumstances. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, my answer to that one is, matter of fact, what we do right now is stricter than what he's requesting, a 30-day. Right now, we're following the state law, which states emergency proclamations are only good for 30 days. And then if they're to be removed, you're shaking.
They are only good
Well,
for the next.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So that's the state law, or until the next meeting of the village board, of the corporate authority. So our next meeting is usually in every 2 or 3 weeks. So that's why we have to renew it every time. And the explanation here does say on here that it's good till the 11th of next month. So we're following state law. If we don't have a board meeting, it's only good for 30 days. But we do have meetings every 2, sometimes 3 weeks, and it's only good till that next meeting. The state law says that too. So we are following state law, which is stricter than what the 30 days we mentioned. Okay. Anyone else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to number 4, which is amendments to the agenda. Does any board member have an amendment to the agenda? Anyone, board member at home? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to number 5, which is appointments to the boards and commissions. You all have a whole list there. I'm not going to read them all. It was all published, and you all received it ahead of time. So I'm calling for a motion for the appointments. Trustee Wagner,
I'd like to make that motion.
do I have a second? Trustee Kazone,
President, I'll second that.
any questions or comments from any board members? We give the ones at home a little bit of time because there is a delay, so. Okay, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes, with that passes, and those appointments are effective starting on the 1st of May. Okay, the next item on the agenda is we have an employee retiring, Richard Leasley. He's been working with the village for 40 years. He must have started when he was in grade school or something, you know, so. And then I'd like to honor Rich Leasley on his retirement after 40 years with the Villa Park Public Works Department. Rich began working for the Street Division of the Public Works Department on May 26 of 1980. In his 40 years with the village, Rich has done everything from plowing, patching, repairing, sweeping, and repairing the streets. Rich is a dependable employee who truly takes pride in his work. His dedication has left him missing many holidays and family gatherings to be available for the residents of Villa Park during snow and rain events. Friday, May 1st, 2020 will be Rich's last day with the village. His experience and dedications will be missed by his friends and colleagues. And Rich and you, the board here and all your fellow employees and in the village, I wish you the best time in your retirement, and may you have a long and happy retirement. So just leave us your phone number, Rich, in case we have any questions for you. There might be a pipe around somewhere buried in the ground. We don't know where it's at, you know, who put it there, but after 40 years, I'm sure that you all remember this, and we got a plaque for you, and we'll make sure you get this, Rich. Thank you very much for all your time of service. So I don't lose it. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of the special board meeting held on March 23rd, 2020, the minutes of the board meeting held on April 13th, 2020, and the bill listing for the weeks of April 13th and April 20th, 2020, in the amount of $837,400.36. So I have a motion for the bill list for the consent agenda. Trustee Kazone.
Mr. President, I'll make that motion.
Trustee Ciala, okay. Any questions from the board members? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes, that passes. We'll move on to number 8A, which is the first reading of an ordinance amending Appendix C of the Village Code of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, by deleting section 6.4.7.A.3 and making a separate use for currency exchanges under new section 6.4.7.C. This is a first reading only, so we don't need a motion. So, Manager Keener, do you want to read that section down there?
Thank you, Your Honor. A petitioner is seeking to move his currency exchange business into Villa Park, but not into an industrial district as required by village code. The proposed code amendment considers currency exchanges as separate uses rather than being associated with uses such as pawn shops, title loan offices, payday loan offices, and cash for gold locations. At its regular meeting on April 9, 2020, following a public hearing in which one person spoke in support of the request, the Zoning and Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend a text amendment making currency exchanges a permitted use in the C3 Service Business District only. Thank you, Your Honor.
And again, we don't need a motion because it's a first reading. Do we have any questions or comments or concern from any of the board members? Any of the board members at home will give you an opportunity first. Hearing none, anyone up here at the board have anything? Okay, this is the guy I talked about who has this currency exchange now over by the Diplomat on North Avenue, and they're going to be knocking that down, and he has to get out of there relatively really quick. So 2 readings wouldn't have helped them a whole lot, but hearing no comments, we're going to move this on to the second reading on May 11th, I believe, our meeting is, yes. But in the meantime, I'd like to ask the board members if you would have, when we get to May 11th, do you have any objection to this request? Because he would like to have a feeling that if it's going to pass, he'd like to start the construction on his new place right now. So any objections up here at the guys? No. Any board members at home have any objections to him getting this variance, this zoning change? Okay, so I'll pass that on to him that when we have the second reading on May 11th, it'll hopefully pass. So. Okay, the next item is the first reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, amending Chapter 2, Section 2-406 of the Municipal Code relating to the first reading of an ordinance. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Village Code currently dictates that any time a modification to code is recommended, such action must be taken in 2 separate readings by the village board during a public meeting. The proposed ordinance modification allows some flexibility in the passage of ordinances for codification, allowing the board to waive the requirement of a second reading if a majority votes in favor of such action. This may be helpful with general housekeeping items, for example, the occasion in which village code must be modified in accordance with state code. Thank you, Your Honor.
Again, that's a first reading, so this is just for, we don't need a motion on that. So if any board members have any questions or comments on this? None up here, any at home?
I have a question. This is Cheryl.
Yep.
My question is, do we vote on it before it comes to say we don't want a second reading, or does the second reading vote come after we discuss it?
You mean on what we're on the agenda right now?
No, what's on the agenda when this comes into effect?
Yeah, okay.
Right now, we've got the 2 readings in effect for most of our things. If we approve this tonight, when we get an issue that it comes up to the fact on whether we decide if it's going to be a 1 reading or 2 readings, where does the vote come in? After we make a discussion on it, then do we decide that we're going to do just 1 vote, or we're going to have a second vote? Where would the vote come in?
It would be the first reading, right?
You would have
Right.
first reading, then you would have a motion to go directly to second reading. If the motion passes, you go to second reading. The village board could discuss it at first meeting or at second reading. You allow people now to discuss at first reading if they have any questions. You just don't take a vote.
So in other words, you could have the first and second reading at the same meeting.
Yes, but you would have to have it in 2 votes.
Yes.
First reading, no vote. Vote on going to second reading, second reading.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Cheryl?
No, I'm still confused. Okay, so we bring up the first reading, if we say it goes on, and then we feel that it doesn't need a second reading, because obviously it's a housekeeping type thing like we're going to do on 9 tonight, that we had to, and we probably could have done it on 8A because there was no reason to really do a second reading because the residents already got an opportunity to speak against it if they wanted to. So basically, if we had it in effect, 8A, we could have said, no, we don't want a second reading. We would have voted no second reading, and we would have finalized it tonight. Is that how it would work?
Yes, you just said it correctly. You would have a vote to go immediately to second reading.
Okay. Now I'm clear.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, we'll move that on to the meeting on May 11th for a second reading. Okay, number 9 is the second and final reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, amending Appendix D of the Village of Villa Park Municipal Code. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. An amendment to Section 2 of Appendix D of the Village of Villa Park Municipal Code is necessary to remain consistent with the updated Bulletin 70 rainfall data adopted by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources on January 1st, 2020. Additionally, the Federal Emergency Management Agency requires communities that participate in the National Flood Insurance Program to maintain records of improvements to all properties located in special flood hazard areas, floodplain or floodway. The proposed amendment will incorporate each of these record-keeping requirements into Appendix D. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Do I have a motion for the second reading? Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Trustee Cielo? Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Silella?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes, that passes, and we'll move on to 10A, which is an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving rezoning to the C3 Service Business District and granting a special use for a cannabis dispensary facility for property located at 133 West Roosevelt Road. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The owner of the property at 133 West Roosevelt Road is seeking rezoning of the property from the C2 Neighborhood Business District to the C3 Service Business District and a special use to allow for a cannabis dispensing facility. The rezoning to C3 is in line with most of the existing zoning on Roosevelt Road. A public hearing was held on April 9, 2020, at which time no one spoke. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval to rezone the property and grant a special use for a cannabis dispensing facility. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
Do I have a second? Trustee
I'll second
Kazone?
it.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
I have questions.
Okay, go ahead, Cheryl.
Okay, and I don't know if he's present to answer these questions or...
Andrew Bailey is here, so in case he's needed, he's anxiously awaiting.
Okay, my question is, some of these questions were on the April 9th Planning and Zoning, and I would just like some clarifications from him on those.
Okay?
The first one is, he had stated on online, can you hear me? I
Yes,
just want to make sure you can hear.
you're coming through loud and clear.
Okay. Online ordering, you said it takes about 5 minutes for the customer to get in and out on.
Yes, that's what he
What's
said.
the time frame for a walk-in?
Andrew? Yes,
Yes.
go, you have to go up to the microphone. I think that microphone is on. Give it a little tap. Yep.
Yep,
you're good.
okay. So if it's not a pre-order, can you hear me okay with the mask on?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful. So if somebody's coming in and it's not a pre-order, typically what we see is still in that 5 to 10 minute range for their interaction from the time they come into the building into the time they're ready to leave with their purchase. Obviously, if there's a wait or a line that's built up, that's going to determine that. But once they're actually in and ready to be seen, whether it's a pre-order or not, with adult use, from our experience in other states and at our Chicago location, we've noticed it to be still within that 5 to 10 minute window as far as people coming in without the medical consultation combined with it.
Okay. What's the store capacity?
Store capacity?
At 133
Yes.
West Villa Park, I'm sorry, West Roosevelt. Let me grab my...
He's grabbing his book.
My notes.
Okay.
And I gather too, that a lot of the people who just come in to purchase, they already know what they want. So pretty
This-
much in and out pretty quick.
Correct. Especially the menus available online, so individuals can go ahead prior to coming in and look at the selection that's going to be available online. The program here in Illinois for adult use is not as robust as it, will eventually be. So for the next, I would say 6 months to a year, we can anticipate selection to be somewhat similar to what it is now, which is a significantly limited selection compared to a more robust state or medical program. So again, it takes the number of potential items on a menu and just cuts them down drastically. So tends to make that in and out time a lot quicker.
I'm just curious what the flow time is, so that if we're anticipating there will be a line outside the door type thing, what type of capacity do we have, and how many customers can you serve at one time type thing?
So we're going to have 7 terminals there, which would be traditional terminals that will be able to service customers in the typical way that we think about it. We're also going to have 3 different pre-order fulfillment stations where if you did a pre-order, you would be able to have an express pickup, which would keep you from needing to stand in line with everybody that's in there. And then as far as if we did have a line, it was something we discussed in the last meeting, outside we would have dedicated security, not only monitoring, but physically out there with them as well. In addition to looking into if we were to need any additional parking spots, being able to partner with somebody locally to provide those additional spots. And as well, like I mentioned, any spots such as that, if we went that route, we would have security designated to be there as well. So anywhere within the line, we would have accountability and oversight from the from the security team.
So what you just told me is that you can serve 10 customers at one time?
Correct. Yep. 10 would be
Okay.
as far as simultaneously in queue.
Thank you.
Yep.
This is Trustee Murphy. Cheryl, when you're done, I would like to ask a question.
Okay.
Okay. You mentioned on April 9th that you were looking further into the parking issue with agreements for the parking share agreement or shutter system, but you were having problems because of COVID-19, which is understandable, to get a hold of people. Did you get any farther since that meeting on trying to get any options for parking?
Yeah, so what we did was internally look through the maps and put together our own list with the goal of by the end of April, having emails and phone calls put out to everybody on that list. So that's what we've been working on since the last meeting. So yes, we've already started to put where we think would be the best locations to partner with and at least try to create that initial discussion with them.
Okay, so no discussion has been put in effect. You're just in the steps of processing to do it if we need to go that route, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yes, we are going to be going that route. Regardless, as we discussed last meeting, we don't want to wait till the 6-month period. So it's something that we would like to get, under our belt immediately and get that process started. That way, if it ends up being something we do not need to do, better safe than sorry, but just want to make sure we're not behind where we need to be.
Okay, and you had mentioned that the employee parking was going to be away from the customer parking. Have you decided where you were designating those areas at and how many spots you were going to need for that?
So I think one option we had discussed is potentially the parking out back. I understand for customer parking, that might not be a scenario that we could go with, but as far as employee parking, if we could have some of it back there, that would be ideal. Also, keeping our customers closer to the building for that kind of quicker in and out. If need be, we would try to have the employees park further away, creating that space for the customers closer to the facility.
And are you going to designate some place for your employees to park? Because employees have a tendency of not following those. So I'm just wondering, are you going to get is that in your planning on parking to get some share things so the employees will park somewhere else than around your building? I can understand the back of the building, that would make sense. But are you also doing some type of parking sharing where putting that in your effect for the employees to park there instead of on your property.
Correct. As part of our discussions, as we're reaching out to other local businesses we could potentially discuss renting spots with, if it turns out that that would be a good scenario, absolutely, we could have employees park there, make that a part of the plan. Again, providing more spots for the customers right outside of the facility.
Okay, and you stated that when you brought up that you were doing no outside upgrades, when you had a discussion about the gate in the back of your property, and you had mentioned you were putting in effect a measurement of a bolt back door, is that correct? And closed circuit monitoring. Do you have security 24/7, or is it just when you're in operation?
So with the closed circuit television, that is monitored 24/7. So that's monitored by our internal security team, Illinois State Police, Department of Financial Professional Regulation, as well as a third-party security company. So there will not physically be security guards on site during the middle of the night or when we're closed, but we will have 24/7 monitoring of those cameras with all those different organizations around the clock. Before, at the time any staff shows up on site, we will have security there. Security will stay until everybody is gone from the area at the end of the night. So we, don't want any employees or being on site without security there with them.
Okay, so you'll have physical security on site, if I'm understanding you correctly, when you're in operation,
Correct.
but you will have monitoring 24/7
Correct.
of the building.
That's
And,
correct.
I did see that you had, is that the layout you're going to use for the cameras, that you had put in the layout of the different cameras? My understanding is you have 3 different types of cameras you use. Well, a license plate one, closed circuit, and then there was another one in that design on all 4 corners of your building from the look of it. Is that the setup you're using?
That's the proposed setup, correct? So that would be pending approval from the state of Illinois, from the state police, from IDFPR. What they'll do is come out and do an inspection of all those cameras and all the angles and make sure everybody agrees that it's going to be enough. And if more cameras are deemed necessary, then that's the route we will definitely go.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes, I just have one question to follow up Trustee Tucker, and it would, from my perspective, be valid not only for this business, but perhaps some of our others as well. When we talk about the capacity of these buildings and these businesses, I'm wondering if we're all going to find that those capacity numbers are going to change based on the COVID and the social distancing circumstances. So I'm wondering, as you design the floor plan, is it being designed to facilitate social distancing when you count the number of terminals and such that you're going to be including?
That's a unbelievably good question. Yes, living in this reality today, we have to think moving forward in the next couple of months how we would alter everything. Obviously, we hope we all get to a point where we come out through the other side of this. So at our current dispensary, this is something we're already experiencing. And similar to a lot of restaurants and establishments, we need to remain having our floor plan consistent to seeing the other side of this, but also being able to deal with the realities of today in COVID. So what we've done is we've essentially had to maintain the 6-foot distancing, which has limited the number of registers we have available, which therefore limits the number of people we can have through the building. In Chicago, we also have an emergency ordinance that prohibits us from having lines formed out front. So it's forced us to become rather creative in how we're approaching this. So we've been utilizing an online reservation system, which allows us to still bring purchasers through the door to get access to their medicine. At the same time, it lets us cap it, so we don't have an unlimited number of people showing up or just a number too high that we're actually going to be able to deal with. So as we go through these first couple of months or these next few months, most definitely we would have to operate under a smaller layout in terms of how many registers we're utilizing, how many of points of sale systems we're utilizing to ensure that social distancing is still being practiced, and most importantly, that the customers are safe, the employees are safe, and we're doing our part.
Very good, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
I
This is
lied.
Trustee Patrick. I have a
Trustee
question.
Patrick?
Thank you. Just a couple quick questions. First of all, if this is approved this evening, what is the estimated time frame in which you will be open for business?
Do you have a license?
So it's all in the works being applied for. The process with the approval from Illinois State Police and IDFPR is also taking a little bit longer with everything going on. So ideally, we were originally shooting at July for hopefully trying to be in there with all of that sort of pending on the current situation of things.
And then my next question, I guess this would be for the village manager. At what point would the Village of Villa Park be able to start seeing a revenue from a business like this?
Yeah, it'd be,
Hold on, Kevin.
we think Kathy, our village attorney Kathy Orr and myself were just discussing that. We think probably around January 2021.
The municipal,
Okay,
the
all
municipal
I-
the municipal tax goes into effect September 2020. So by the time all the registrations, I think what the village manager has suggested is the most realistic date.
What was the date?
All right, thank you.
Late in the year? If it's, the tax goes in effect in September, that has to get paid to the state. They have to process it and send it back to us, and that takes them, what, 3 months?
Sales
that?
tax returns can be anywhere from 30 to 90 days.
Right.
Unless with what's going on right now, the state may delay how soon they send the money, but that's another topic, so, okay. Anything else, Kevin?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Anyone else, any questions?
President Bofus, I do have another question.
Sure.
I have a question. This is to the left turn lane issue. That if we're approving this, we're approving it that we're going to give 6 months time frame to test that left turn lane issue,
That's
along
correct.
with the parking issue. Is that correct?
That's correct. They have to come back in 6 months, and the Planning and Zoning Commission will reevaluate that. But you did get in your whole packet a traffic study with the crashes that were there for a number of years. I think according to the police chief, we've had one in a left turn out of that establishment. And I don't remember offhand what the period of time on that was. But there was only
From the letter
one.
he gave me, there were several issues he had with that. And I don't know when they put the left turn lane in for Jet Bright, but there is a left turn lane there. Does anyone know when that was actually approved?
There's a left turn lane there?
There is a left turn lane there out of that parking lot right
Oh,
now.
out of the parking lot. Okay.
Yes.
I have no idea when that was approved, so. But again, they'll have to come back in 6 months, and we'll have to take a look at if we're going to require a no left turn sign or not.
Okay. I would like to, have a little in-depth on, we're giving them leadway and not to have it, but if we do decide that we are going to remove the left turn lane, is that also going to be enforced from Jet Bright? Though Car Wash 2 has to be in effect on that, is that correct?
Yeah, it's one exit there, so it'd have to affect the car wash too, and all the other stores in that little strip mall.
Okay, well, I'm not worried about the other stores. I'm more concerned that the car wash causes a whole lot of left turn issues and in and out of there. And I was just kind of curious if they were approached when they came in there about that. Was that approved for
I'm not
them
aware
or
of
not?
that. I'm not aware that they were approached about the left turn.
Okay. I was just kind of curious how that left turn lane got in effect in the first place with the congestion that's right there. I know that it was brought up for a U-turn to be put there, and that was denied or prohibited by the state. I take it decided not to do that.
Correct.
Okay.
Anything else? Trustee Kuzma?
Just one quick thing to address that comment about the left turn. Coming out of Jet Bright Car Wash, you can make a left turn west, and they like you. When you come out of that car wash, there are arrows pointing left, and you go west, maybe 150 feet, and then you come out, there's another exit there, where you can make the left turn, and it's a little bit easier. So prohibiting a left turn coming right out of the shopping center there, I don't think would be that big of a deal if it's determined that we have to do that. So just a comment there.
I'm just a little concerned because they are crossing at least 3 lanes of traffic making that left turn, and then it backs up. It also backs up the line on Roosevelt Road a little on that media. If we really have, and I did see the traffic control type thing, if we really do have some idea what it's going to affect with 2 businesses doing it with a lot of traffic, but we have no idea if there will be that much traffic, and I understand why that you want to wait for the 6 months to prove that.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, hearing none, we'll go with a roll call vote, please.
Yes, Trustee Silella.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
No.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Kazone.
Yes.
President Bolfus.
Yes. And with that ordinance passes. And thank you, Andrew, for coming down and answering the questions. I really do appreciate it. You did a
Thank
great
you.
job.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to number 10B, which is an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, Dupage County, Illinois, establishing temporary executive powers pursuant to Chapter 8, Article 3, Section 8-301 to 308 of the Village of Villa Park Municipal Code 65 ILCS 5/11-1-6 of the Illinois Municipal Code and 20 ILCS 3305-11 of the Illinois Emergency Management Act. So this ordinance extends the temporary executive power contained in Ordinance 4142, approved by the Village Board on April 13, 2020, until such time as the Village Board can reconvene in an open meeting. Do I have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Jello, second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Kazone.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Silella.
Yes.
President Bolfus.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on, that passed. We'll move on to number 11A, which is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving an engineering service agreement with Strands Associates, Inc. of Joliet, Illinois, for Phase 3 construction engineering of the Michigan Ave Improvement Project, central to Kenilworth, in the amount not to exceed $137,000. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village has been approved for a $550,000 grant funding program in the state's capital bill to be applied towards a street improvement project. Staff proposes to use this grant to fund the Michigan Avenue Improvement Project, central to Kenilworth. The project consists of installation of new storm sewer, sanitary sewer repairs, and roadway reconstruction. This resolution will approve a contract with Strand Associates, Inc. for Phase 3 construction engineering of the project. Funding for the construction engineering work is budgeted in the Street Improvement Fund referendum, Water Supply Fund, Wastewater Fund capital, and Wastewater Fund sewer separation. Thank you, Your Honor.
Do I have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Kazone?
President, I'll make that motion.
Trustee Wagner?
I'll second the motion.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I have one question.
Yes, Cheryl.
Are we guaranteed that funding from the state? The Illinois Capital Bill, I take it, was 2019, So we are guaranteed those funds, correct?
That's correct. Right, manager?
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, DCO reached out to us and asked us to fill out a grant application for that $550,000. We have done so, and so we're proceeding, yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure if they're not going to pull it away from us once we start the work and then say, oh, there's no money.
We're
So that
smarter-
is a guarantee.
We're smarter than that. We've had that happen. Notice the
Okay.
windows in Village Hall. We're still waiting for the money. Anyone else? Trustee Wagner?
This project should be completed this year, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's all I have, thank you.
Anyone else? Can we get roll call vote?
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes,
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes, and that passes, and we'll move to 11B, which is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, confirming the appointment of Susan Griffin as interim village treasurer, IMRF authorized agent, and IRMA alternate delegate. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Due to an approaching personnel change, it is necessary to appoint an interim finance director to fulfill the duties of the position and provide guidance to staff while the village seeks to fill the position on a permanent basis. With approximately 30 years of experience in municipal finance, retired finance director Ms. Susan Griffin is highly qualified and will serve as the interim until a permanent replacement can be hired. Several important finance responsibilities must be formally assigned to the interim finance director to ensure village operations continue without interruption. Such responsibilities include appointment as interim village treasurer, authorized agent for the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, also known as the IMRF, and alternate delegate for the Board of Directors of the Intergovernmental Risk Management Agency, also known as IRMA. Thank you, Your Honor.
Do I have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Wagner?
to make that motion,
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Ciala? Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
just a quick question.
Trustee Wagner?
Was her last assignment in Lake Bluff, is that correct?
No, that is not correct. She currently works for GovHR, and her current assignment is in Fox Lake, and she's finishing Fox Lake probably within the next 10 days or so.
Did she work prior at Lake Bluff? Because I did, okay.
In her past, I think she did, yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes,
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes, that passes, and with that, we'll move on to item 12, which is public comment on non-agenda items. Again, we asked for emails. Did Manager Keener have any non-agenda items?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. I
Okay.
have several.
Oh, boy.
The first one is from Kevin Latner. Says, Village Manager Keener, has the police department experienced an increase in people that are homeless or people who have appeared to have mental illness? And how does the police department handle this situation? Where do they take them?
Yes, this is addressed to you, Manager Keener.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. No, we have not experienced an increase in the homeless. I believe many of those unfortunate individuals have sought shelter and found shelter. And mental illness, that could have many definitions. And with the COVID pandemic, I'm sure a lot of people at home feel crowded and would like to get out. And we have noticed some domestic disputes over the weekends and the weekly reports. So to answer the second question, which is how does the police department handle the situation, where do they take them? We haven't experienced an increase, and to my knowledge, Your Honor and Board, we don't have any right now.
Okay. Trustee Wagner.
just to interject, I did read where since the pad sites are shut down, that the county did provide for a location where they're housing homeless residents. So-
I have the,
Oh,
we'll go over
I'm
that
sorry.
later.
Okay,
No
my
problem.
apologies.
No problem. Go ahead, next one.
Thank you, Your Honor. Next one is from Steve De La Rosa. The question is, Darien is rebating 6 months of their food and beverage taxes to Darien's various restaurants and taverns to help the local business weather this COVID-19 storm. Will Villa Park follow suit and provide its local businesses with the same or similar type of assistance? And then Steve has the ABC7Chicago.com Darien approves economic relief package and highlights. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, that item, I'm on bi-weekly phone calls with other mayors in Dupage County, and the mayor in Darien did mention that they were going to do that. None of the other mayors jumped on board on that right away. What Darien's doing is they're looking at the last 6 months of last year, what the food and beverage tax collected was, and they're going to rebate that. Well, it isn't for sure, but if the mayor wanted to put it on their agenda, rebate that back to the restaurants. Okay, so that's, I don't know if it passed their village board or not, but that was going to be her recommendation. Like I mentioned, none of the other mayors made any positive comments about doing that. Looking at, for us, our tax is what, 1.5% of the bill. So you think if you go to Highview with 4 of yous for lunch and you got $100, it's $1.50 extra. So, it's up to the board. We can't decide that, even my executive powers right now doesn't give me the ability to do that. So it would have to be a change in our code, and it'd be up to the board to give us direction if you want us to do that. I don't think we're talking, I don't know how much money we're talking here, so. Manager Keener?
Thank you, Your Honor. It's about $62,500 a month,
Yeah.
$750,000 annually is what we receive.
Attorney Orr, give her the mic, please.
What several communities have done, the local municipalities are in extraordinary financial distress because of the lack of sales taxes, et cetera, from their businesses. What some communities have done is they've increased their eating and drinking, place of eating tax is what it's legally called, have increased it, and so you maintain your 1.5%, you add 1% to it, and that you might rebate to businesses for longer than till we loosen up, for a year, 2 years, in some way to trickle business. That is being considered by other towns, because it's very hard for the villages, for a municipality to give up an important source of revenue at this time, too.
Yeah, what Darien's doing, they're giving back the money they've already collected.
They must be in better financial
Than
shape
we
than
are.
any town I get to work for.
We're looking at the best case scenario, $6.5 million. I think it's going to be worse than that, because I think it's going to stretch out a little farther. So, it's something, if it's up to the board, but it's, we're not talking big money here, so. And we also have, like I said, a $6.5 million shortfall, so. But it's,
This is Trustee Patrick. If I would want to just say that, first of all, I want to thank Steve De La Rosa for bringing this to our attention. I really do think it's a good idea that Darien is doing, and I would like to see the board come together and think of something similar that we could do. Thank you.
Yes.
anyone else?
This is Trustee Murphy. My only comment on that is I would feel that it's not a decision that we could make in a short period of time, and that small business loans are being offered and other grants. So before stepping into that as a village, knowing that we're going to have a shortfall to begin with, I would be interested in learning more about what other opportunities they might have.
It's true. I did talk to some business owners recently who are applying for the small business loans which would, pay their employees, pay their rent, pay their utility bills. So that is.
And I believe it's my understanding, I thought I heard today, they're also thinking about another round of that, and specifically including, Governor Pritzker suggested more of the small businesses.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of big businesses jumped on that right away, which doesn't give them very good PR right now, so. Anyone else? Well, we can talk about this, other times, so. Trustee Wagner.
I think it's an interesting idea. I'd like to have more information about what Darien did and how they're able to accomplish that. If we can help a restaurant in town prevent them from going under, I think it's something we should consider if we can do it without. Obviously, we're in stress, but they're in stress as well. So, I'd like to see more information.
I'll find
about
out
that.
some more from Darien, Mayor, maybe on the next call, which is tomorrow. So, so we'll see what actually passed in Darien. I'd probably look on their website too to see what happened. So I'm looking more for any money they would maybe collect now, rather than going back to the last 6 months. And I don't know. We could talk about it, but I don't know if this is going to be enough to keep somebody from going out of business. So, especially if they can get a loan. But let the board members send me any information with their thoughts, and we'll see what we do. So, okay. Okay, next item, Manager Keener, next email.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have one from Jerry Shaw.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Andrew.
for letting me submit written questions during the shelter-in-place time in history. We met with the board on March 7th at the coffee to begin a relationship with our local elected leaders, and wanted to follow up with you all post our discussions. Questions. The first one is, what new issues, needs have come up in the last month around housing, mental health, and food insecurity?
Okay, well, on that, like the manager mentioned, we haven't had any problems with homeless in Villa Park right now, but I have been in contact with PADS on a number of occasions, and I talked recently to Carol Simler, who's the president and CEO of PADS, and they're right now. I got some figures from her. I called her back today, and I got some more clarifying. They have 120 clients right now, and they have those people in 98 hotel rooms or motel rooms. So some of them are multiple, some of them are individually. They could use more rooms, but they also recognize they can't go on with this forever with the motel rooms because of the cost involved. They also have 199 people in 147 apartments, okay, which they call supporting housing. They also have the program if we do have a homeless person in Villa Park. All we have to do, the police have to call them, or a resident who is concerned can call PADS, and they'll come out and talk to the person and see if they'd be willing to go into a shelter. And you can't make them do it, but if they're willing to do it, they would find a spot for them. So she also did mention that if we want to go to the Dupage pads.org, they have a list on there of urgent needs. I printed it out, and the urgent needs they have, and where they can be dropped off on West Liberty Drive in Wheaton, Monday to Friday, 8 to 8, and Saturday from 8 to 4. And it's a whole list of different items from clothing and toiletries and food items. So, but they need help, and they also have set up a donation site for emergency response fund. And it costs them about $200,000 a month right now to operate. So they don't know, they have about just almost $200,000 for next month, but after that, they don't know where the money's coming from. So if anybody is interested in donating to PADS, they'd appreciate it. But you can go on to their website, You can find that either, like I said, going to dupagepads.org. You could go to the Illinois Department of Health, and there's a link there, and I think there might also be a link on our village website. So, one other thing she said that told me that they could use is if anybody out, if they're a sewer, they need more face masks. So they always have a need for face masks, so they would appreciate any donations of that. And also, she wanted to stress that I thank the people, residents of Villa Park, and for the support that they do get from Villa Park and all the communities around. She said they really appreciate your support, but they could use some more. So, so that's as far as the homeless needs. We generally direct them to the Illinois Department of Health or Dupage Pads. So, but we haven't had any big trouble with that in Villa Park. Next one, Manager Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Number 2, has there been any changes in VP vacant property since we last had a conversation with the board at the coffee chat in March?
No, with the COVID-19, we've been kind of distracted from some other things, so no, nothing new.
And then
Next
then the final one, Your Honor, is how is the census work going? Are the door knockers getting responses? And Director Grill has a response for this.
Oh, okay. Director Grill?
Yes. The census timeline has been pushed back because of COVID-19, and whereas the census takers were originally planned to start on May 13th and run to July 31st, that's been pushed back now, where they won't start until August 11th and go through October 31st. And that is the timeline for the census takers. The to date, well, as of approximately 2 weeks ago, they had 50% answer rate with the census.
Well, that's a good time to remind everybody, Director Grill, you're home, you got your computer going, we can tell by the number of emails we get. It's a good time to answer the census. It only takes
Yes, it is.
It only takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, so please do it. I'd like to get that percentage up a little higher, so. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have,
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
and then we'll move to the clerk's report.
No report tonight.
Okay. Treasurer's report, oh, that's a trustee's report. We'll start with Trustee Patrick.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I've got a couple of things. First of all, I just wanted to tell Trustee Wagner how much I like his protective mat.
We can
Very
hardly
nice.
hear you.
I said I wanted to start off by telling Trustee Wagner how much I like his protective mat. It's very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you start off good, then you kind of fade away, so, but we're getting it.
All right, good. So I just also wanted to say, as we continue to adhere to the governor's stay-at-home order, I just wanted to reiterate the importance of social distancing. We're all in this together, and we will make it through these tough times. Again, I wanted to thank all of our first responders and essential workers for their dedication and sacrifices. You all play a vital role in combating this epidemic, so thank you. Villa Park is strong, and we will continue to be strong. I'm just really proud of being a Villa Park resident and proud of each and every one of you. So just keep up the good work, stay strong, and have hope. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Tucker?
I just wanted to thank all the residents for being patient with us and as we're going through these and going through a lot of this is all new to us, and there are a lot of them are cooperating. I'd also like to compliment our village staff, especially our police department, who has been hitting some of our park areas and making sure that residents are following the spacing. I've seen several of the police cars out there in certain areas, just parking there and making sure that the group gatherings that have been going on at certain places are staying under control. And I applaud them for doing that they're, allowing it to happen, but they are keeping groups in line so that, and the same thing on the Prairie Path. I have noticed a lot of people paying attention and stopping and making room on the Prairie Path for somebody to go by so that they're staying a distance away from each other. A lot of areas aren't doing that. And their cities are causing them to close down the parking lots and stuff in those areas. So I'm applauding our residents for at least trying to follow through. I know sometimes on the Prairie Path it's hard. And for our fire department, I know I've gotten a couple calls that they've answered questions in the last week of people that are a little stressed out and are having anxiety attacks, and they are answering their questions and kind of being very calm to them, and I applaud our fire department for doing that. Sometimes there is an issue, and they and the police department have been handling it very cooperatively. The villages, people of the village are applauding them, saying, "Oh, now I'm a lot more comfortable that they answer those questions." I'm not sure what questions they're sending it forth, but I appreciate that our village staff is doing that and making our residents feel comfortable in this situation and not just telling them that they don't have time. And that's all.
Okay, Trustee Murphy.
Yes, I just have one again in conjunction with all of the other trustees that have already mentioned, a thank you to the staff and the residents and everyone for their patience during this challenging time. But I would also like to do a special shout out to Public Works. As a walker, I'm just seeing some amazing and incredible progress on our sidewalk programs. There are quite large sections that I'm seeing as I walk that have been redone recently, and they just are amazing. So I wanted to give a shout out to them as well. We're all under more stress than usual. I'm not used to Monday night board meetings with Manager Keener in my living room. It kind of stresses me out. And the challenge between my mute and unmute, you have to be careful with that too. And I think we're all doing really well, and no one's hearing anything they shouldn't be. And eventually I look forward to getting back into the boardroom where I can sit and see Manager Keener and not feel like he's sitting on my couch in the living room. That's all I have. Thank you.
It's a scary sight.
She wants to sit down there at the end where she really can't see her.
Thanks, Sharon.
Trustee Kazone.
I just got actually one thing. Again, we're to talk about trying to help our local restaurants. There's a couple of places that we can find restaurants that are open in Villa Park. One of them is the yesvillapark.com website, which was opened up about a year ago by the Economic Development Commission, and there's a lot of good information on restaurants and businesses that are open in Villa Park. And then also villaparkchamber.org is a Villa Park Chamber of Commerce website that again has a lot of information on businesses that are open currently open in Villa Park and what their hours are. And also shout out to Mike's Meat Market. There was a short interview today with Joe Lane, who's one of the owners there, and he was on for a few seconds, and but he looked good, and he was kind of touting Villa Park. So shout out to Mike's Meat Market. And that's it.
Okay. Trustee Wagner.
Thank you, President Fulthus. I have a couple things. First off, I just would like to recognize Tri-Town YMCA and all the work that they have done distributing food throughout the community. If you're able to, and I apologize, I don't have their website, but if you go to Tri-Town YMCA, you can donate to help them out. You can also volunteer. They're doing every Monday on bus routes, they're distributing food, and then at different sites in the afternoon. I know Jefferson Middle School, they distribute food as well. So wanted to compliment you and Chief Wachosnik and Chief Lay on the video. I thought that was well done and great message to the community. Wanted to also remind residents, if you may not need reminding, but the houses of worship in our town, in our village, they perform many of the acts of charity that help people out. So if you're able to, because congregations are not meeting, you're not getting collections. Unless you have, made some arrangements to deduct from your bank account. So remember them, because they're kind of the linchpin in our community. Just a couple things that really quickly I'll go through. Kiwanis Club of Villa Park is having their Vidalia Sweet Onion Sale, and I know that Director Grill or President Grill wanted us to report to him, but you can still order, I believe. You can still order. You can order through me if you want to, or Clerk Korniecki, and
Or Manager Keener.
Or manager. Okay, they're delicious. There's you can find all kinds of recipes to use them in. You can grill them, etc. A 10-pound bag is $11. So it's a great bargain. So hope you will consider doing that.
When's the pickup day, you know?
Whenever.
Yes, it'll be on Saturday, I believe it's May 16, if that's the Saturday, yeah.
One for me.
Okay, and I just want to follow up about the Villa Park Garden Club, their plant sale. This is going to be a no-contact plant sale. Curbside pickup, or people will deliver to your front porch. And I don't know if folks can see this or if you can pick this up. You can go to the Garden Club Facebook page, and there's a little link there where you can click on it and you can order your plants that way, or go to this website, garden-club-of-park.myshopify.com /. It's a major means for them.
Just so you know, Trustee Wagner read that backwards from the back of the sheet, so that's pretty good.
This is a major fundraiser for the Garden Club, which is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, garden club in the state of Illinois. And just lastly, I think we mentioned before that spring sweep will not be held, which was prior scheduled for May 16th. There'll be discussions about rescheduling it at the appropriate time later in the year. But the Conservation Foundation also holds an event called River Sweep, which is also on May 16th. That has been canceled. That folks usually gather with a organizer at a certain spot. So they're encouraging folks to do cleanups on their own during the month of May. The Forest Preserve District will provide sites for people to that they would like to have cleaned up. The email says that they're asking folks to carry out what they collect. I don't know how they're going to do that, because there may be some extremely large things that they pull out of the stream. So
we found a car one year.
A car was, yes, exactly. Shopping carts, tires. So I'm not sure how that'll be accomplished, but we'd encourage people to clean up around our streams. And that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Ciala.
Yes, we all know that we're praising and thinking about our first responders, and I just want to remind other people that we still have to care and thank our grocery store workers, our postal people. There's other people out there doing a fine job during this tough time that seem to be overlooked a little bit. And I'd like to just remind people to consider them and wish them well also. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, we go down to the President's report. I'll start with one of the main items on my list, is I believe this is the last village board meeting where Patrick Grill is a member of our staff. So, Patrick, thank you for your years of service. I believe, what's it been, 9 years, Manager Keener?
Closer to 6, I believe you're right.
6 years, okay. Well, we won't, so his pension's going to be a little less. So thank you for your 6 years of service. I know that the Planning and Zoning Commission also really appreciates all the work you did for them. So I myself, and I'm sure the board would like to wish you the best in your next part of your life. So thank you very much for your time here, Patrick. You know, Patrick, if you want to say something, you could say something. You say goodbye or something.
I would like to thank everybody for the opportunity to work here. It has been a wonderful ride. The staff here is top notch, and I always enjoyed coming to work here. It really was a pleasure to work here, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you again, Patrick, and good luck in your retirement. So. A couple other things I want to point out. I know Trustee Patrick mentioned about the social distancing. The infection rate in DuPage County has been low compared to what goes on to the east of us. And I would think that, and they think that that has a lot to do with social distancing and people abiding by the rules. And the information I received in the last week, they feel about 80% of the population in DuPage County are practicing social distancing. And I always wondered how they did that, but I found out we got these little cell phones. They ping these things every 30 minutes. So they know where we're at. So we're doing real well. 80% when it first started out, it was only like around 60. But with the percentage of people actually practicing, staying close to home is about 30%. So the other thing I wanted to go over too is also with everybody else, thank staff, police, fire, public works. They're all out there working, Parks and Rec. Everybody's working, staff in the offices and, accounting, and everybody's still working well. We don't, knock on wood, we don't have anybody sick. So I think when we closed the buildings as fast as we did and instituted social distancing, it really helped. So thank you, everybody, for staying healthy. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I did participate. I participate in a lot of conference calls. It's almost enough to drive me nuts sometimes. But I was on one on Sunday, usually about the first Sunday of every month. Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago, Metropolitan Mayors Association, and now also along with the DuPage mayors and managers, generally have a conference call on a Sunday evening. And they just announced that they're starting a next step group, task force, and what are we going to do, what are we going to look like when we make the next step to starting to open up. And so a task force has been formed, and Sam Skinner, you might recognize that name. He was, I think he was the chief of staff for the second Bush and some other jobs in the state. He's going to be heading up that task force, and they've also, the members of the task force are made up of Mayor Lightfoot, President Prupwinkle, DuPage County Manager, Chairman Cronin, and for the DuPage mayors and managers, we have the Willowbrook Mayor Trilla, and they have Lake County Danny Smith. Metro West Mayor is represented by Batavia Mayor. They have the Morton Grove Mayor. They have the Robbins Mayor, Palos Hills, North Lake, Beecher, goes all the way down to Beecher, who are all members of this task force. And they're working on, and they hope to have answers in 6 to 8 weeks on set up policies do we have to put in place as a region and the next step when we start opening up. And that would include setting up the policies, handling how we're going to handle mental health issues, how we're going to market our region again, and how we coordinate our efforts together so the whole region is sort of on the same page. And also the environmental impact around in the area also. So there's a task force, they're working on it, and hopefully they're gonna, in 6 weeks, they're gonna have a preliminary report back to the mayors and in the area, and then hopefully an answer, a plan, a roadmap laid out for what the future is gonna look like, what we hope it's gonna look like. We all know that it's not gonna be the same as it was, and this recovery period is going to be quite extensive. How long the social distancing is going to go on, I'm hearing different reports from the DuPage County Health Department today. They think the social distancing will at least go on until fall, if not longer. So it's sort of just all playing it by ear. But just want you to know, the Villa Park, DuPage County, we're doing a good job. We're following the social distancing, and that's going to be around for a while. So I'm proud of the village. I'm proud of the people. We haven't had many problems. The businesses are doing well. They're all cooperating with the regulations. So hopefully that'll continue, because as the numbers show, the fact that we're actually exercising social distancing well, our infection rate in DuPage County is low. Our hospital capacity is in intensive care and in the ICUs is under 50% of the available beds. So I think we're doing a pretty good job. We just need to keep it up. So, and with that, we'll move on down to the manager's report.
Your Honor, I passed this evening.
Okay, well, with that, then our next board meeting is on May 11th, and we'll have to see how we're going to handle that board meeting. Yes, Trustee Wagner's got a question?
I had one question. I saw before the meeting about the downstate judge that had overturned the governor's stay-at-home order. Has there been any feedback from IML or DuPage mayors and managers with respect to that?
No,
Nothing.
there hasn't been any. We're waiting to see what happens. Down southern Illinois is where it was filed, and well, we'll see. We will see what
It
happens.
was just trial court level appeal. The governor has already announced that he shall appeal the order.
So we'll see what happens.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
First, Trustee Shala first, Trustee Wagner second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Aye.
Right.
Okay. Very good.